We're back here on Ceraulo Sports Talk. It's me, Joe Ceraulo. Joining me, it's my guy, former first-round pick by the Florida Marlins, former Cleveland Browns quarterback, Josh Booty. Josh, thanks for coming on, man.
Man, always. It's always fun to catch you at the Super Bowl Media Row. We've had some good times there. I know last year down in Miami, but it's always fun to join you, Joe. Appreciate you having me, brother.
Josh, thanks for the kind words, man. Always a blast seeing you down at Radio Row. Like you said, Miami, one of the most fun radio rows I've ever been to. How could you have a bad time in Miami? I mean, you know better than anyone. You played down there for a few years.
I love it. You know, a lot's changed. I was down there in the late 90s playing for the Marlins and was able to, be a backup on the 97 team. I was a rookie coming up. But a lot's changed in Fort Lauderdale and in Miami. But it's always fun. The fans love to come to South Florida in the winter. It's like New Orleans or San Diego. You love to be in a great weather environment, and Miami usually is. And it was a fun year. Always a blast to be in Miami. I'm sure you had a ton of fun too.
I was hanging out with a lot of your guys from the Believe Network. And those guys know how to party. I have to give it to them. Guys like Brandon Lang, Braun, you get stuck in Miami with those guys, and you might wake up not knowing where the hell you are.
Brandon Lang's something else, isn't he? And Braun, he's one of my best friends ever. Now, don't let the smooth face fool you with Braun Houston stamp. He's one of Hollywood's biggest partiers, and he always has a good time. He went to SC, was Matt Leinert's roommate, and that's how I met him when my brother was playing at SC under Pete Carroll and playing with Leinert and Bush and some of those teams. And so I was always hanging out with Braun and some of the other guys that were not on the football team and didn't have to go to practice every day. So we had a lot of fun going to games. We traveled together, watching some of those big-time USC games when they were just loaded. And we had a lot of fun, as well in L.A.
Hold on. So Braun, I've known Braun for over 3 years. I never knew he was Matt Leinert's roommate.
Yeah, and Braun was a pro surfer. So
that I know, yeah.
Yeah, he was a pro surfer and Leinert's roommate. And Braun's done a lot of radio too. Me and him's done a lot of radio together in Southern California. But yeah, he was Leinert's roommate in college, and that's how we met. He would come to all the games. We'd sit together up in the stands and have fun. They played at Hawaii, I think. The second year Matt started at SC, my brother's a backup. We went to Hawaii together for a week, stuff like that. We had a lot of fun.
So, all right, so I got to know then, if Braun was rooming with Matt Leinert, and obviously your brother John David Booty, quarterback at SC also, so you're out there all the time partying with these guys. You played quarterback at LSU, which is an absolutely phenomenal party school.
Yeah.
How do those two schools compare, USC, LSU, when it comes to the party scene?
Well, Louisiana, there's no curfews. You can go all night. New Orleans is an hour away. It's a different culture and mentality. Everybody's, a lot of beer drinkers, a lot of fun to be had in South Louisiana. Great food, great people. In LA, it's big time. Hollywood's a whole different world. And SC is positioned south of downtown, which is about 10 minutes from Hollywood, 20 minutes from West Hollywood. Downtown, the scene in LA has gotten really good as well. So they're in a different environment. They're in a big league environment, big market environment. Those guys, there was no NFL. The Chargers weren't in LA. The Rams weren't in LA at the time. So they were the NFL franchise of LA, which was the second biggest media market in the U.S. So you can imagine how big it was. Those guys were celebrities. It was crazy to think that, because I had already gone through college, had been to the NFL, had played, in Seattle and Cleveland and Oakland with the Raiders, and to come back and see how those guys were treated in a bigger market than I'd played in, in a pro market. It was just phenomenal. It was just crazy. When Matt Leinert was at SC, he was probably the biggest college football celebrity of all time. And I think, since then, Reggie got big there with Leinert kind of at the same time. And then Tim Tebow came along, and then Manziel came along, and then social media was happening. And so there was kind of a chain of how these guys jumped up from a media perspective in terms of heights and their name, and the lights and the star. They were stars. It's crazy. But Leinert was the first real superstar there in LA because there was no NFL franchise, and Braun was his roommate through the whole thing. So it's pretty cool to see.
That's wild. Now look, I know John David's your brother, right? I know you love him and all that crap, but does it piss you off a little, You know, I mean, you made it to the big leagues for baseball. You made it to the pros for football, and then you go see how those guys get treated at USC playing
Yeah.
college ball, and that they're like A-list celebrities out in LA.
I was envious, man. I was that guy. I was going, if I could do it all over again, that wouldn't be a bad, that wouldn't be a bad choice to make. And, you know, I'm close friends with the Palmers, with Jordan and Carson Carson was a Heisman Trophy winner. And that's why my brother ended up signing with Pete Carroll. Norm Chow was there, the offensive coordinator, who was also at BYU for all those years, setting all those records with Ty Detmer and, Jim McMahon and Robbie Bosco and all those great passers. Steve Sarkisian, who played under Chow at BYU, lineage of quarterbacks, and he was there at USC. So when my brother got an opportunity to go to USC and play, and Leinart was there already when JD signed. Matt Castle was there. Mark Sanchez was there. There was a lot of great quarterbacks that Pete and Norm recruited right in a row. And so it was just a phenomenal opportunity for him. But, yeah, I've thought many a day, man, it would be fun to go back to college and sign at USC because the tradition and, it was just that time, that Pete Carroll era was so special. And the way he coached his players and the way the players loved him. I got to play for a guy like Nick Saban, but my brother got to play for a guy like Pete Carroll. Two different, vastly different coaches, but both got it done in major ways.
So looking back now, hindsight's 2020. Which coach do you think you would have rather play for? Still Saban or Pete?
Well, Saban got the most out of you. There's no doubt about it. He's the best, maybe the best coach of all time in college football. You can say Bear Bryant. You can say Nick Saban. No one touches those two. But Pete Carroll would be a lot more fun to play for. After practice, I remember going to watch JD a lot in practice, and they were having so much fun. And after practice, Pete Carroll would pop up a volleyball net and put some beach sand out, and they'd be drinking lemonade, and he'd be playing volleyball with them after practice. I'm like, Nick Saban would never do anything like that. So, Pete Carroll did it a different way. Saban he was military. When I played for him at LSU, he had not won a national championship yet at the college level. So he had a chip on his shoulder and a lot to prove. And I played, Jimbo Fisher was the offensive coordinator, and those two guys are a lot alike, and they're really tough on the other coaches and the players and the staff. Really, everybody's held accountable. Pete Carroll's a little bit more fun than Nick Saban.
I could be wrong here, but Saban's a pretty short guy, right?
Yeah, him and Pete are about the same height. They're like 5'8", 5'9".
Oh, is Pete that? I thought Pete was bigger.
No, they're both the same height.
Because I was going to say, when it comes to Saban, I've noticed with any football coach I ever had back when I used to play, usually the shorter they are, the more they feel they have to prove.
Dude, we had an offensive line coach at LSU, Rick Trickett. Also was at FSU with Jimbo when they won a national championship with Jameis Winston. He was about 5'6", ex-military guy, and he would get up under your helmet and just rock you right here under your chin with his open hand. I mean, he would come if you didn't do, he's coaching those big 300-pound gorillas, right? I mean, he'd pop them under the chin strap with his open hand, and it'd wake him up, son, and he would get up under him and yell at him so loud. I'm like, this guy is nutty, but Rick Trickett, look him up. He's unbelievable.
I mean, we had an old coach back in high school. I'm not going to name any names, but he was a running backs receivers coach, and the guy was about 5'5" by 5'5", and he would just like walk every room he walked into. He's got his chest puffed out, and his favorite thing to say, because I was playing D end at the time, his favorite thing to say to us used to be to the lineman, "If I had your size, I'd be in the pros. I wouldn't be coaching high school." And I was like, "Yeah, dude, but you don't. And I may not be going to the pros, but I'm 6'4", so I'm probably going to get more girls than you just because you're 5'5". Like
100%, dude. He had no chance.
I mean, these guys are these little guys are just chippy from the start.
They are, man. They get the little man's disease. They got, a lot of them couldn't play, so they coach, right? And they live through their players, but they get a lot out of the kids, and they love it, man. There's so many guys out there, with this COVID that are hoping football happens because it's going to be a release for a lot of these coaches. I mean, think about all the high school coaches that are just chomping at the bits to get something going, play high school football, all the I guess the DraftKings guys, the bettors out there. I mean, there's so many people that want this thing to happen because it's just so much fun, man. I can't wait for football. If this thing opens back up and we get to play football, it's going to be great.
Yeah, man, it's been a wild 4 or 5 months, but you've been capitalizing on it, haven't you? What have you been up to the last 4 months?
Yeah, man, I got involved in a healthcare company, a medical supply company called SC Health. So SCHealth.com. If you're following it on any social media, it's SC Health, or at SC Health. But we've tried to help as many people as we can with the PPE stuff. We've delivered a lot of masks, gowns, face shields, gloves. I mean, government entities, procurement offices, retailers we're working with now. We've done a lot of donations nationally, probably in 10 different cities or markets. So we've been able to help a lot. We donated 100,000 masks to the city of New York last week. Been to New Orleans, Atlanta, Nashville. We've done a lot for a lot of places. So I've been proud to be able to say I was a part of a little bit of helping, along the way. And so we're doing a lot with with a good group of guys in South Carolina. And like I said, it's called SC Health.
Josh, that's awesome. I mean, it's been way more productive than I've been so far in this quarantine. The only thing I've done is, you see that poster right over your right shoulder. The only thing I've done in quarantine is catch up on Peaky Blinders.
That's my favorite show.
That has got to be, I'll be honest, I didn't want to watch it. When I started watching it, I like all those like Italian mob movies and everything like that.
Yep.
My girlfriend wanted to watch that, and I was like, English like crime gangs? Like, what is an English crime gang, right? Like, it's the mafia or nothing, in my opinion. We watched the first episode, and I wasn't totally sold until the last scene when Shelby's friend, you think he killed him, and then the guy's actually alive on the boat.
Oh yeah.
That's when I was sold, awesome. And I got hooked. I got to know, if you could be one Shelby family member, which one would it be?
Cillian. I want to be the Tommy. I mean, he's the gangster, man. He's tough as nails. He's like Saban and Rick Trickett, man. The guy's nails. And he's tough, and nothing bothers him, and he's a badass. I just love him. I can't wait for the next show. Me and my girlfriend have watched all the series and absolutely love it. So it's I think it's the best Netflix show, or the best series I've ever seen.
It is incredible, and I don't disagree with anything that you just said, but it kind of feels like the easy answer. I mean, look, we all know, like, Cillian Murphy, like, he's got those piercing eyes that, like, everyone's girlfriend probably thinks about 24/7, right? He's got, like, that calm demeanor. He runs the show, and everyone wants to be that guy who runs the show. But wouldn't that pressure get to you after a while?
It would. He looks like he never sleeps, so I worry about him a little bit, But yeah, Arthur, you mentioned Arthur in the boxing match, how he faked his death. That was pretty badass too.
And that's my guy. Like, if I could be any of them, like, I know, look, he's not the best looking brother. He's got that crazy, like, Bible thumping girlfriend going, whatever. But, like, to just get hopped up on coke and beat a man within an inch of his life, like, Arthur seems to have a pretty relaxed life.
Yeah, he's pretty. He doesn't take any prisoners either, man. That guy's he's wanting to kill everybody he sees, and I like that about him. Is he just give me the gun, he'll do it. He'll take the heat.
No shit's given at all.
At all, man. So it's fun. It's fun to watch Arthur's character, but I just love Cillian, how smooth he is, and how much he thinks about things before they happen. Yeah.
No, look, he's incredible. He's got to be one of the most well-written TV characters I've ever seen.
I agree. I can't. I don't even know when series. What is it? 5 comes out, or 6? What is it? 6 now?
Series 6. Yeah, I have no clue when it's happening.
Yeah, this is gonna be good.
You can't film right now with everything going on, but I need it right now. We talked a lot about, like, your party days, hanging out with your brother, hanging out with Bron, Matt Leinart at USC. You had, like, the luckiest draw of locations out of anyone I've ever seen, right? You get to play pro baseball in Miami. You get to play college football an hour from New Orleans. You get to visit your brother in LA all the time. What is your favorite party story from your days playing college football, playing pro baseball, wherever?
Oh, man. I mean, that's a good one. There's so many. I mean, we would fly into Philly to play the Phillies, and this is back in the day when Atlantic City was rocking, and I was 20, 21 years old. I probably wasn't even legal to go anywhere. And, Al Leiter Kevin Brown, Darren Dalton, Gary Sheffield, Devon White. I would jump in Jeff Conine. I would jump in the limo with these guys and go to Atlantic City for the night. And it would be like, I'm a small town kid from Shreveport, Louisiana, and now I'm in a limo with Al Leiter and Sheffield going to Atlantic City, all night. And so I grew up fast when I signed with the Marlins. I grew up really fast, but it was a lot of fun. It was eye opening. It was great experiences. I mean, some of those LA days were unbelievable. I mean, I've been around so many guys in both sports. I couldn't even really come up with a top 10 list, to be honest with you. I mean, I was hanging around Manziel when he was at Texas A&M. After the Cotton Bowl game one night, we had a lot of fun. But I mean, there's so many stories I can't even start. But the South Florida ones were pretty awesome. A lot of the New York City trips, the Montreal trips in the big leagues. That's one thing not a lot of people know, and I'm glad you asked this question. And now there's not a major league team in Montreal, but that was the favorite place to go play on the road was Montreal when the Expos were there. And I remember playing against Andre Dawson, Vladimir Guerrero, those guys. Pedro Martinez was on those Expos teams. Unbelievable teams the Expos had before they moved down south. But that was the funnest place we ever went was Montreal. So we enjoyed New York, Montreal, of course, LA. Those are the fun places to go. And then everybody liked coming to South Florida to play us.
Of course. I mean, how could you not? Like, I spent my 21st birthday in Miami. I spent the week there for Radio Row. It is unequivocally my favorite city in the world.
It is. It's awesome. And it's international. You got the warm weather, the water. I love Southern California too, because then there's no humidity. It's always sun shining. I love San Diego, Orange County. Spent a lot of my adult life there, but I love the South too, man. I really like wherever I'm at. I enjoy bits and pieces. I love New York. Like I said, I love Canada. I love Toronto and Montreal. I love Chicago. I mean, there's some great cities out there. The SEC, because I played SEC football, I got a lot of respect for a lot of those little SEC towns because there might be 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100,000 people live there during the week. But then when it's game day, it doubles. And that's what I love that about college football. And I know that happens all over the country in different conferences. South Bend, Indiana is one I can think of off the bat. Columbus, Ohio is a nice city, but when Ohio State's playing a home game, it is like, it's like the Super Bowl every time they play at home. Ann Arbor. I mean, it's just amazing how some of these towns come to life. And that's why I love college football. That's why I love Baton Rouge. That's why I love Oxford, Mississippi, Athens, Georgia. You can go down the list. It's pretty incredible to watch, these little towns like Starkville, Mississippi come to life on Saturdays. That's what I like about college football.
Yeah, look, college football is the best. I'll always say when my Giants aren't playing, if you give me like a random game, I'd rather watch a random college game than a random NFL game. It's just college football to me is the best.
I'm with you, man. I just love it. I'm so glad they went to Tuesday nights and Thursday nights and
little
Friday nights. Yeah, the MAC games. I mean, I love all that stuff. It's like, Ben Roethlisberger played for Miami of Ohio. So if Miami, Ohio is playing Toledo, there's some NFL guys out there. I love watching that stuff. And then when there's bigger separations too between the NFL players on the field than some of those players they got starting. There's just it's like high school when you see the separation of talent. And so I love that. When you watch LSU and Bama, you're going to see 30, 40 guys that are NFL players. We know that. It's the big showcase game. But I love watching some of those games too where it's like Marshall with Randy Moss. You're like, man, he sticks out like a sore thumb. I mean, this guy's unbelievable. And so I like
Khalil Mack at Buffalo.
I don't know how many players have come from Buffalo and gone to the NFL, but I'm sure there's a bunch.
I mean, Khalil Mack right off the bat is like
Khalil Mack. You're right.
Watching him just tear up offensive linemen in Toledo and Kent State, it was embarrassing for those guys.
Yep. And Jason Taylor at Akron. I'm thinking of some of those players that played in that division or in that conference. But, it's awesome to watch. I just love college football. I'm eat up with it. I hope we have it. And I'm like Orgeron. I don't know if you saw this last week. He goes, "We'll play at midnight. We'll play in a pasture." You know what I'm saying? I mean, bring it, dude. They're ready to go, man. They want to defend their national championship, trophy. And so Orgeron's the epitome of a football coach, and I'm glad we got him at LSU. Of course, he was at SC when Leinart and my brother and all of them were there with Pete Carroll. SC should have kept him. They didn't. They miss him bad, and Orgeron's now doing great things at LSU, and I'm happy.
You know, it's funny. I was just talking about that yesterday with my father. I mentioned that I was having you on, and my dad, first thing he said, what a mistake USC made letting Orgeron go.
Isn't that amazing? I was talking to somebody yesterday, said the same thing.
Yeah.
A big SC booster, and he lives in San Diego, and he's in this PPE space, and he's business partners with Donald Trump Jr. And he said, "Man, the worst thing we did was let Orgeron get out of LA and head south." And Orgeron's from Louisiana, so he loves it. He's part of the culture. He fits in here. He probably doesn't fit in as well there. SC needs kind of a stately guy. I really thought they'd get a guy like Whittingham, who's at Utah, or a Peterson that was at Boise and Washington. You see someone like that kind of fitting in at SC better, maybe. Urban Meyer, but he's conservative. He's not, left coast liberal, and so he might not fit in there. Maybe more at Notre Dame or the Cowboys or something one day. But SC is a great program, and I hope they get somebody good one day. I hope Helton can turn it around because he's a nice guy, but they might need more than nice.
Yeah, I don't know if Helton's the answer out there, but before I let you go, you got to it briefly before. Do you think there's going to be a season, or are we going to watch college football come September 12th, it seems, when most teams are getting ready to start?
I think we're going to try. I think most of these conferences are willing to try. And so I think it's going to start. Now, if there is a big outbreak, if, position groups on certain teams go down and, we see 4, 5, 6 guys after Saturday's game, come down with COVID, I think they're going to have to rethink this thing. I think they're going to try, and they're going to try to see if this thing works. I mean, the NBA thing in the bubble looks like it's working nicely, which I'm happy about. And, even though there's no fans and not a lot of access for people to be in there watching it with their own 2 eyes, at least we have it. And, college football is a different deal because – home fields, student section, bands, momentum shifts in games because of fan noise. I mean, it's so big for these kids. And so that's going to be a different type of situation than we've ever seen. And we're in different times. We all know that. But I think it's going to start. I just don't know if it's going to finish. And it's all going to have to do with, how well these kids stay, not testing positive for the COVID.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I know obviously there's some concerns. UConn just canceled the team, but be honest, would UConn have canceled their season if they didn't suck?
No, they wouldn't have. I can promise you. Alabama's not going to be the first one to cancel. Clemson's not going to be the second.
Exactly.
Ohio State and LSU aren't going to be the third and fourth. So the big programs, man, they're chomping at the bits. I mean, think about how hard these coaches have recruited over the years to get the players, in their locker room, first of all, and then all the money that goes along with having these home games in Clemson, South Carolina, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Columbus. I mean, it just brings so much money and value to everybody involved. The hotel owners, the restaurant owners. I mean, it's everybody. So if you can have it, you want to have it. And so I'm hoping that we can have it and it goes through a 10-game schedule. I kind of like the conference only stuff. That limits travel a little bit. It does some good things, but you hate to see, USC, Notre Dame, games like that not played.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, I mean, there are certain things with that. It's like, is it really safer for Rutgers to go play Iowa than it is for Rutgers to play Syracuse? I mean, there's certain things with the conference thing that I have problems with. But Josh, thanks so much for coming on. I do want you to know before you go that I canceled the 9 a.m. tee time to talk to you this morning. All right, I
You didn't have
know
to do
you would
that.
never do that for me, but
You didn't have to do that for me. I said I got my clubs back here. When are you gonna come down and play some golf with me, brother?
I'm waiting on the invite. Dallas is one of my favorite cities. I went there for March
Come on.
Madness 3 years ago.
Yep.
And I went to, what was the name? I must have gone to this club like 3 nights in a row. Bottled Blonde.
Oh yeah. I've been there a few times. You know, that started in Phoenix in Scottsdale.
Really?
That's the spot. Check out Scottsdale.
Okay, because I went to that club 3 nights. I was there 3 nights. I went to that club all 3 nights.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. You know, Dallas is a great place. I mean, Dallas is a great sports town too. I mean, I think it might be the best sports town if you really get down to, you know, youth sports too. You know, I mean, high school football. I think this is the best place for high school football in the country. I think New Jersey's got great high school football. South Florida, Ohio, Southern California got probably the best teams are there with Mater Dei and Bosco. But Dallas, Fort Worth area, so many people care about sports here. It's unreal.
Well, we'll have to link up, play some golf soon. Josh, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, buddy. I appreciate it.
Josh Booty here on Ceraulo Sports Talk. When we come back, it's time for my final word on Ceraulo Sports Talk.